We found that Phuket continues to be one of the most searched Thai destinations on Airbnb. But what we did was we went back to our roots and we started focusing on our core strength. More flexibility, longer term stays, and responsible travel is defining the trends for 2022.
Thank you for being here today. I know you're busy a lot, especially the end of the year, right?
Yes, but thanks for having me and giving us this opportunity to share our views. Look forward to the next 30 minutes.
To the first question. A lot of people keep talking about travel trends will change next year. But the question is, what direction does Airbnb see travel trends changing? And compared to this year, what do you see as being the main differences?
Thank you for your question. You're right. Travel trends are definitely changing. And I think what we are seeing is that the trends are being driven by three fundamental shifts. Number one, greater flexibility. Number two, longer term stays. And number three, the rise of responsible tourism or a rise of a new conscious traveler. And I'll go in one by one into each one of them. See, the pandemic and technology together have created new ways of working. So people are no longer tethered to one single location. And what is happening is that people are now embracing this newfound flexibility. What's happened is technologies like Zoom have made it possible for people to work from anywhere. And platforms like Airbnb now enable people to work from any place or any home. And people love this. In fact, we did a survey earlier this year, and 90% of our Thai respondents said that they would love to, live, work differently if they had more flexibility in terms of how they work. And clearly, people are now looking for this enhanced flexibility in everything that they do. So what this is leading to is basically people are traveling more often or finding new avenues to travel. What's happening is earlier travel was restricted to only seasonalities, right? You have a holiday, you have a weekend and you go. But what we're seeing now is that travel is happening more during off-peak seasons. Travel is happening at the spur of the moment because there is enhanced flexibility for people to now live, work, or travel from one single place. Second, what we are seeing, which is also a very important point, is the growth of long-term stays. What's happening is that, people earlier would stay in one city, work in an office, and then travel to a city, country based on the holidays that they had. But now they can do all these three things from one single location. And specifically for Thailand, because it is a popular destination for people coming for longer periods of stay or for digital nomads, as they call it. And what we're seeing is that this trend is now increasing a lot more. People are staying for more days than ever before. In a recent, analysis that we did of our data, long-term stays of over 28 days are making up for at least half of the nights that have been booked recently on Airbnb, specifically in Bangkok and Phuket. Clearly, this means that, as the country has so much to offer, more people are coming to the country or within the country traveling and staying for longer terms. And I think this is good news for not just for us, but also for the entire industry. The third trend that is more important that I wanted to talk about is, as people have spent more time indoors and they have introspected, there is a newfound respect for responsible and conscious travel. More Thais want to travel sustainably and also have a very positive impact on the communities that they are visiting. In fact, the same research that I talked about earlier, more than 90% of the Thais said that sustainable tourism is very important to them. And they want to have a positive impact on the communities that they visit. And now they're thinking about this as they make their travel choices. So yes, more flexibility, longer term stays, and responsible travel is defining the trends for 2022.
I think we can see the picture clearly about how travel trends change. So, how is Airbnb adjusting to attract travelers to book Airbnb stays?
Thank you for asking that question. We learned very early on during the pandemic that we needed to innovate, and we needed to innovate very fast. What happened was when the pandemic hit, as the other tourism industry players, we were also impacted. But what we did was we went back to our roots and we started focusing on our core strength, the individual host. And what we did was we set up listening sessions with all our hosts globally, and we heard what they were saying. So very early on, because there was a big focus on safety and hygiene, we decided that we wanted to halt the in real life experiences. But we also heard our host who said that they wanted to continue to meet with people, even though virtually. We also heard that people wanted to earn secondary income while travel borders were restricted. And that's when we innovated to create a new product, which we call as online experiences, which was one of the most successful products. Within 2 weeks of its launch, more than 50,000 seats were booked. So many people sitting in their rooms were able to meet and connect and kind of immerse in the culture and passion points of other hosts across the world through this new product. And then slowly travel began. And what we understood was that the preferences for people was changing. People wanted to just get into the car, travel 100 miles and explore a new city, which was closer to their place. And that's when we launched our new marketing campaign called Go Near. And this brought newer destinations, newer cities into the forefront and helped more communities get benefit of tourism. We also understood that one of the top priorities for people at this time was cleanliness and hygiene, and implementing good quality standards was top of our list. And this is where we consulted with global experts around the same topic and launched what we call a standardized protocol called Enhanced Clean last November. This was endorsed by the World Travel and Tourism Council. And starting November last year, all Airbnb hosts were required to commit to this new COVID-19 safety cleaning practices because cleanliness was top of mind for people. And then in 2021 alone, we've launched over 150 new products updates this year. All of these product updates as a technology company are aimed at one single thing, that it should be easier for people to host and easier for our guests when they travel. For example, we launched a new translation engine, which is more accurate than ever before. We also launched a new feature called verified Wi-Fi, because as people the lines between travel and working were blurring and people were staying longer and working from homes, it was important for them to understand what the Wi-Fi speeds were. But, especially for Thailand, when we did a survey, almost 55% of the Thai respondents said that they ranked Wi-Fi as one of the top amenities. And so features like this made travel much more easier. And this is where we have continued to innovate and bring new changes to our product.
Do you have any advice for Airbnb hosts that they can prepare for this trend?
I think what stands us, what makes us stand out is our diverse host community. We have more than 4 million hosts across the world in over 220 countries and more than 100,000 cities. Many of them are in Thailand as well. And I think one thing that makes us stand out is the people-to-people connect, as well as the warm hospitality that people have to offer. Our hosts are also part of this revolution, and they're seeing this change that is happening. They are embracing this change. And after listening to their thoughts is when these products innovations have happened. So my advice to all of our hosts is continue to bring their best authentic self to the platform, continue to make sure that the guests' interests are on top of mind for them, like they've always been, and safety, hygiene, attesting to the enhanced cleaning protocol that we have would only build more confidence as guests start to come into Thailand, whether domestic guests or international guests. The hosts are ready to welcome guests from across the world, and we are clearly seeing those in our numbers. For sure, I think Thailand is one of the world's most sought after travel destinations. So let me just talk about domestic travel trends first.
Sure.
Based on our data, which is basically, how people are searching, how people are, looking at listings in different cities, we know that the top 5 most popular destinations for Thais are Bangkok, Hua Hin, Pattaya, Chiang Mai, and Phuket. And when we look at, so we have a product where people can go and wish list their homes that they would want to visit in the future. So when we look at some of the top wish listed stays by Thai guests anywhere in the world, which is what guests are adding to their Airbnb wish list, 7 out of the top 10 are all located in Hua Hin. So clearly Hua Hin is one of the most favorite destinations. But what we are also seeing is a growing number of Thais are wanting to travel to newer rural destinations. As I said, the conscious traveler is on the rise. And so they want to now embed in newer communities and make sure that there is impact, which is very positive on these rural underserved destinations. They are really going to get off the beaten path, as we say, and engage with the local communities. When I talk about international trends, we also know that people across the world can't wait to travel to Thailand again, including me. In the lead up to Thailand's reopening, international guest searches for stays in Thailand more than doubled from a year ago, which is a very promising sign. We found that Phuket continues to be one of the most searched Thai destinations on Airbnb. And I think it's no surprise with the sandbox and the government's efforts to kind of put Phuket in the forefront. Clearly, many guests wanted to come to Phuket. But other cities like Bangkok, Samui, Pattaya, and Chiang Mai are also one of the top favorites on our platform. What we are also seeing is that resort destinations near Bangkok are also trending. So what we saw is that there was an 80% surge in international guest searches for stays in Phetchaburi, and more than 40% increase for both Pattaya and Hua Hin compared to a month before the announcement was made. So clearly, whether it's international guests, whether it's domestic guests, these destinations are top of mind. People are wishlisting their homes and they are making their travel plans to come and visit the beautiful country again.
For the first half of 2022, how many international tourists does Airbnb predict will enter Thailand? Do you see bookings increasing or decreasing when compared to this year?
I think we all would appreciate that, there is a lot of uncertainty even today, right, when it comes to the pandemic. And so it is very hard to predict in terms of what's going to happen in the future in terms of numbers per se. But if I were to talk about generic trend, Thailand's tourism is starting to recover. And I think the government strategy to be cautious and safely reopen the country to international visitors is clearly showing some success. With the launch of the Phuket Sandbox in June, we saw that there is appetite amongst international travelers to come and visit Thailand. And this kind of showed in the search stays, in the bookings as well. And following the 1st November reopening, we see that this appetite is only growing. So overall, while visitor numbers to Thailand are still relatively small if you were to compare it with pre-pandemic levels, what is encouraging is that they are increasing. And I think it is not only encouraging for us, but it is also encouraging for the entire tourism industry. So we do see that the number of visitors to Thailand will continue to increase. And we do see that the number of Thais traveling within the country would also increase as they want to explore newer cities. What we are seeing again is that there is a growing trend towards more conscious style of travel, where guests are prioritizing sustainable travel choices. And guests want to explore newer destinations which were underserved and are more off the beaten path. And while positively contributing to the communities that they visit. So they want to know what is important to these communities before they visit and make these choices. And this, I believe, will be a very important point from a tourism perspective. And this will be a great opportunity for us to reset and recalibrate how travel has been in the past. The benefits of the new wave of travel will now spread across newer communities and everyone will benefit. And I really want to say that we support the Tourism Authority of Thailand's efforts in diversifying travel within Thailand. And I think this is what we are seeing happen in 2022 as well.
For the last question, how are Airbnb bookings during Christmas and New Year?
Well, end of the year is always a popular time for travel, and as a public company, I cannot get into specific numbers of bookings or nights, but I can share that we are definitely seeing a growing interest in Thailand as part of the global trend of increased travel as borders continue to reopen. And while Thailand's top 5 destinations remain one of the most popular ones with domestic and international travelers, there is a clear trend for people to explore newer places and communities. And so entire country, I believe, will kind of benefit and see new guests and arrivals from international destinations or within the country. From a 2022 perspective, as travel interest continues to grow, we will see the same trends as I talked about kind of dictate travel choices in the future. We are definitely in the middle of a travel revolution. And I believe that Airbnb as a platform, as a large global community, will have a very important play in Thailand's tourism recovery, starting from the end of the year and getting into 2022.
Okay. Thank you very much for today. I got a lot of information already. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you so much.